Hello there. So I'm sure a lot of people have realised there's been a new booktube drama. It was started by Mercedes' video, which was a fantastic video about falling out of love with reading, which I will link down below. But this video isn't going to be about this said drama because I sometimes don't think it's very useful. I think people get really carried away. The original video was fantastic and I really enjoyed watching it. But I think people have kind of run with it and used it to put other people down. And I find it really hard to get behind that kind of thing. And I kind of avoided videos on the subject. That said, one that was made by Sophie at Portal in the Pages was really fantastic, and I'll link that one down below. But other than that, I've kind of stayed away from it. So this isn't going to be about that. But something that's come out of the videos that I have seen on the subject for me, especially in Sophie's video, she talks about book relevance. And the pressure to maybe read newer releases and neglect older books and sort of the guilt feeling of reading older books. Now, I very, very rarely read new releases, mainly because I've got such a big TBR and I've got such a big backlog, and I'm quite disciplined in the fact that if I get a new book, it does go to the back of that line, and it can be up to 3 or 4 years before I even contemplate reading it, and I'm quite happy with that. But I've definitely noticed, especially since starting my book blog, where I would run newer release, and that was because it had come out at the library, and obviously I do my library pick every month, so sometimes I do get newer releases from the library and read them straight away. And I did a review of a newer release and it got a substantial amount more views than my other posts. My other posts are still kind of floundering, I'm still quite new to it, but that post kind of skyrocketed its views, and it made me question, you know, also the fact that I am a relatively small channel, and I don't know whether it's because I don't necessarily read new things and am I not that relevant. And it got me thinking for a moment about whether I should read new releases. And then I kind of put it to the side, but I wanted to just open up the conversation because I think it's interesting to consider. I didn't ever think before about the fact that maybe people did feel this pressure to read new releases, and I just wanted to know what you guys think. Does anyone out there who is on BookTube have this pressure? It's just something that I've never really bought into. Like, obviously there are pressures from BookTube and reading, and I think it is interesting to open that discussion and look at that, because not that it's a criticism, but I think by its very nature, you know, our reading becomes more than just a hobby. Like, I certainly, even though I still enjoy reading and I still obviously do it for fun, and I probably wouldn't do it if I was at a stage where I wasn't enjoying it, but there are some evenings where I would like to make plans or where I would like to watch a film, but I'm aware that I need to finish so many books before the end of the month. Especially in the last week before a wrap up, I usually kind of really knuckle down, especially if I've not done that well with my reading. So there is definitely pressure, and I don't think there's any real way around that. It's completely pressure that we put on ourselves, and I think the same thing with the new releases. I mean, yes, I probably don't get as many views because I don't review relevant current books, and though I'm quite comfortable with that, there is a part of me, especially for my book blog now, which is thinking that I should read newer releases. But then I kind of don't want to change my reading just because I feel like that would be more popular. I think it's a sad way to look at it, and I think something really good that what I enjoyed most about Sophie's video is that she then went on to talk about booktubers who did things differently, and kind of to highlight the fact that, you know, we don't need to adhere to these standards that we set for ourselves or deem that the community is setting for us. So I think that was a really lovely thing to do, and I think it was a really nice way to turn something on its head that could otherwise become a bit of a problem and a bit of a spiral. And I also next year intend to kind of step away from the pressure a bit, because this year I've spoken before about the fact I've got quite strict guidelines for my reading, which ended up being a lot stricter than I anticipated, because I started doing my independent publisher series and then I had those books to read as well, and I still have some of those books on my shelf, and I'm kind of toying with the idea of doing one more publisher for that. But yeah, with all these pressures, I never ever thought about the fact that there was pressure to read new books. I think the only time that I feel pressure to read a new book that's come into my collection is if it's been sent to me for review. Like, I've only really started accepting review copies in the last year, and that's another interesting subject really. I won't go into it too much, but I definitely find that actually, although I was kind of envious of people who got free copies of books before, and it would still ultimately be a goal I would like to get more into, to doing review copies, because I think it would be, again, with the relevance thing, it would be possibly more relevant to review books that have not come out yet. But for me, the books that I have accepted for review have kind of become a weight on my shoulders, and I feel as though I have to hurry to read them, and then I don't enjoy them because I kind of know that I shouldn't be reading them yet. And some of them, I find that when it comes to it, I don't even want to read them, but there is that pressure to read them, which, as I say, could be a whole subject in itself. But yeah, that's something worth considering. And as I say, I think all of these things are completely unavoidable, but it's interesting to consider. And I was just wondering, would you guys prefer me to read more relevant books? Is it something that you've noticed on my channel that I don't read new releases? Because as I say, it's just not something that I even considered before this whole discussion came up. And it's interesting, and it would be interesting to hear what you guys think. As I said, I'm not really bothered about changing my reading tastes to match a larger audience. I'm quite happy with the audience I have. But if it's something that you would like to do, I could start incorporating newer releases into my reading every few books. This would also tie in quite nicely with the exciting challenge that I'm setting myself for next year that I haven't told you about. But yeah, so let me know and let's just talk about it really. Do you find that relevance is an issue? Do you find that relevance is a priority for you when you're looking for book reviews? And yeah, I just think it would be interesting to find these things out. So let me know down below and I will see you next time. Bye!